God who is living, we come before you today and we invite you into this meeting. We recognize you are a God of order, and so we pray that things will be able to be done decent and in order. We pray for unity. We pray for effective communication. We pray for the ability to agree to disagree. And most importantly, God, we pray that we would leave here more unified than we were when we came. God, we know that there are many perspectives and many ideas about how we as a party should move forward. And that is just a sign of the diversity that you have placed within our community. And so, Lord, I ask that we would be able to major on the majors and minor on the minors, and that ultimately you would be glorified through what we see as a party, because the alternative is not an option. And so we pray for our chairman and for all who will be involved in leading today's meeting, that you would give them wisdom and discernment and insight, and allow us, Father, to work as a family in order to move this vision forward. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Singing the Star Spangled Banner. Y'all join in quickly, please. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hey, Mike McCloskey.
Please join me in honoring our Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And Texas, our Texas. Texas, our Texas, all hail the mighty state. Texas, our Texas, so wonderful, so great. Boldest and grandest, withstanding every test. O empire wide and glorious, you stand supremely blessed. God bless you, Texas, and keep you brave and strong, that you may grow in power and worth throughout the ages long. God bless you, Texas, and keep you brave and strong, that you may grow in power and worth throughout the ages long.
Thank you. Without objection, I Sarah Singleton, Mark D'Orazio, and Debbie Terry to approve with Sarah Singleton as chair.
Chris Goldberg. Assistant General Counsel Trey Trainer. Okay. Assistant General Counsel Ross Fisher. Assistant General Counsel Wade Emmert. Chaplain Corey Tabor. District 1 Dennis Cable. A little spread out, can't hear you. Okay. Sue Evanwell. District 2 Jason Ross. District 2 Vicki Slayton. District 3 Terry Holcomb. District 3 Judy Pareda. District 4 Melinda Fredericks. District 4 Will Robbins. District 5 Nita Davidson. Is that you, Mike? District 5 Michael McCloskey. District 6 Chris McDonald. District 6 Tammy Nielsen. District 7 Mark Ramsey. District 7 Sarah Singleton. Proxy Committee, okay. District 8 Candy Noble. District 8 Carl Voitsberger. District 9 Steve Atwell. District 9 Shelley Pritchard. Your name, please, sir? Okay, thank you. District 10 Jeremy Blosser. District 10 Susan Wright. District 11 J.T. Edwards. J.T. District 11 Tanya Robertson. District 12 David Halverson. District 12 Debbie Terry. District 13 Melanie Flowers. District 13 Dale Gibble. District 14 Jan Duncan. 14 Fernando Trevino. 15 Virgil Cruz. 15 Gail Stannard. 16 Randall Dunning. Your name, sir? District 16 Virginia Proden. Your name, please? Thank you. District 17 Melvin Cleed. Apologize, sir. District 17 Tina Gibson. Tina Gibson. District 18 Michael Cloud. Michael Cloud. District 18 Edie Sinclair. District 19 Terry DeBose. 19 Scott Stratton. District 20 Sam Dalton. Your name? District 20 Janie Melendez. District 21 Mike Goldman. Mike Goldman. District 21 Naomi Navarraz. District 22 Denise Deloria. Dennis Deloria. Denise Deloria. Ms. Deloria. District 22 Chuck Wilson. Okay. District 23 Stephen Broden. District 23 Leslie Thomas. Marion Phillips. Okay. District 24 Jack Barcroft. Jack Barcroft. District 24 Randall Stanheiser. Thank you. District 25 Mark Dorazio. 25 Linda Kinney. 26 Fred Rangel. 26 Marion Stanko. 27 Morgan Graham. 27 Matthew Walbeck. Matthew Walbeck. District 28 Drew Bullard. District 28, Jane Cancino. District 29, Mark Durham. Dunham. District 29, Lisa Sprinkle. District 30, Paul Braswell. 30, Dion Starnes. 31, Rhonda Lacey. 31, Tom Roller.
There are 56 voting members in attendance at this time. A quorum is present, 57. Looking at you, JT. At this time, RPT Organizational Director Brandon Moore will take a moment to go over your packets.
All right, in your packets, you guys should have everything you need. The first thing in your packet should be a table of contents, kind of like what we did last time. If you're missing anything off of that table of contents from inside your packet, then let us know and we'll get you some copies. Other than that, lunch is on the agenda. It will be, okay, sorry, I'll get a little closer to the mic. You have a table of contents in your packet. If you're missing anything off that table of contents, let us know. Lunch is on the agenda. It'll be over in Guadalupe Barton Creek. It will be a buffet as well, Chicken Veracruz today. So just go through the line and get your tickets or get your plates. Thank you much.
Yeah, no, I was hoping we could get some audio help at the microphone there, so they'll be on. Yeah.
I have pages 1, 3, 5, and 7.
Mr. Moore will take a look at that with you and figure out what the approach is.
Thanks, sir.
The minutes of the January 27th meeting were distributed by email on March 25th. Are there any corrections to the minutes as distributed by email? Okay, without objection, the minutes are adopted. The agenda we've recommended as printed and distributed includes business in an order meant to keep business moving and accommodate speakers. Only the audit report and the field staff report deviate from the standard order. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as distributed?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. We don't need to note the source of the second, but thank you. Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of adopting the agenda as distributed, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The agenda is adopted. We'll now move to officer and committee reports, beginning with our treasurer's report. Oh, hang on, sorry. Sorry.
Marvin, please.
Yep.
17.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cleve. Did we? Proxy committee, are you ready to report?
Mr. Chairman, the proxy committee reviewed our proxies. We have 8 proxies here for our members, and we thought it was interesting and wanted to point out that it's the first time that we know of that we have a husband and wife serving as proxy for Senate District 16. We've got Tim and Denise McNamara here for Virginia and Randy.
If any of you need to leave the meeting early this afternoon, Secretary Wiggins has proxy forms available for you to complete. Please notify Sarah Singleton of the proxy committee as well as Jim Wiggins, the secretary, so he can take note in the minutes. Reminder under our bylaws, the proxy committee must approve the proxy before it is valid. We'll now move to the officer and committee reports, beginning with our treasurer reports. Treasurer, there we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, in your packets today are the customary reports that provide the numbers through February, basically, in some amount of detail. Is that better? The balances in the cash availability report are as of Thursday, April the 5th, that's just 2 days ago, and are after payment of all bills that were due and payable. While these balances are current and we believe them to be accurate, they should still be considered preliminary. Currently, the RPT has a total of $1,257,000 of cash in its combined bank accounts. Of this, $708,000 represents cash restricted for specific purposes, mainly for the primary, but with lesser amounts for Victory, CRC, and the convention. The remainder, $548,000, represents cash generally available to cover operating expenses. This balance is up substantially from the $388,000 that we had when we last met in January. This increase is due primarily to income from the annual spring dinner held earlier this week, to contributions from major donors, and also to continued success in other fundraising activities. Bills continue to be paid as they come due. The fund income statement report includes actual final numbers and expense, income and expense numbers through February 28th. We're still obviously in early April, and the numbers for March are not yet final. Net fundraising income amounted to approximately $110,000 for the month of February and $217,000 for the year to date. These amounts are about 10% below budget for the 2-month period. While most fundraising activities exceeded budget, event income has lagged behind. The income numbers mentioned compared to approximately $97,900 of operating expenses incurred for February and $206,000 for the year to date. So while income was 10% below budget, expenses were about 13% below budget. Fundraising income has exceeded operating expenses by $11,000 for the 2-month period. Convention expenses are expected to amount to about $1.5 million. To date, a little over $500,000 of this has been collected. General registration of delegates will be beginning in the next week or so, and that's expected to add substantially to the amount collected. We also have amounts due from sponsors that are expected to cover the full amount of the convention. The annual audit has been completed, and you'll hear more about that in a few minutes. The campaign finance reports have been filed with the FEC and the TEC as those reports came due. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Mr. Chairman, Mike McCloskey, Senate District 5. I have a couple
Yes.
questions of the treasurer, if he may answer those.
Actually, you have a question. You can address the
Okay,
question to
Mr.
the
Chairman,
chair.
I wanted to get an understanding from the treasurer. Number one, in that, he did explain it, but I want to make it clear, there was some misunderstanding after our last meeting about the difference between general funds and our entire fund balance, because some folks were saying we had funds available to spend that were committed funds. And I just wanted the treasurer to explain so folks understand the difference.
Yep. So the question is, what is the difference between unrestricted cash and restricted cash? As the treasurer said, all of the items below the total RPT line are restricted in some way or another, and the funds above are unrestricted funds. I am unaware of who you're speaking of, who is not aware of this, because we've been talking about this for a year now. But yes,
I would think that
we have.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I agree. I think that folks would understand that, but apparently there was some misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that.
So as the treasurer said, that total RPT number, that is completely unrestricted funds. It's the numbers below that that are.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And then another question, and I just want that to be clarified with the treasurer, that during the time that he served as treasurer, have any dedicated funds been used for a purpose other than what they're dedicated for? Okay. Just wanted to get that question answered. Thank you very much.
Yeah. By the way, any such use would be fraudulent and against our rules, so it wouldn't just be a topic for the treasurer to bring up. Yes.
Mark Dunham, SD 29. Hey, just looking at this other category, the payroll of $95,
Right.
is that accurate?
Yes, it is both accurate and entirely illogical. So it's allow me to address it.
Of course.
If I may. For the same reason that the convention account has only $29,000 in it, yet we paid $500,000 in convention expenses. The payroll account, except on the day when we pay payroll, always keeps $95 in it. On the day when we pay payroll, accounting then takes the money they need to take from every one of the unrestricted accounts up above, or during primary season, some of it comes from the primary funds because it's allowed to, in particular ways, as particularly allocated. They transfer all of the necessary funds to pay payroll into the payroll account and then pay payroll.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Terry Holcomb, SD3. I really wanted to congratulate you at this point on the recognition that you received from Governor Greg Abbott on the very successful fundraising for the RPT. Thank you, and thank you for these numbers.
Thank you very much. It is encouraging to have such great support from our great governor. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to make sure that I heard correctly one of the things that our treasurer said, that there were enough funds to pay for the convention that have been pledged. Is that, did I misunderstand that?
Yes. No, you didn't misunderstand. We have already paid $500,000 in expenses on the convention.
Mm-hmm.
We have not yet let delegates pay for their registration fee, and that will be several $100,000. We have not yet sold any tickets to the gala. That will be a couple $100,000. When you add up all of the things we know will come that we have not even yet done, including several pledged corporate sponsorships that have not yet arrived, that's what the treasurer said. Yes, we expect to fully fund the convention at this point.
That's good news, and
is that correct?
Yeah.
That's
good news, and I wanted to make sure I heard that correctly because I'm excited.
Absolutely. Yeah. Congratulations to our whole team for the hard work they've done to get ready for the convention, and thank you to all of you who serve on that. Kyle, Jennifer, Marissa, you guys have put in amazing amounts of time, and it is truly incredible, and the results speak for themselves.
Anybody who arrived after the roll call was taken, please advise me immediately so that we can maintain proper control over the voting devices. Other than Denise, did anybody else come in late?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Treasurer Hicks, for that great report. Let's see. The audit report. Tom Roller, do you have a report for the audit committee?
Good morning. Is Jeremy Myers? I know he's here. I saw him, but is he in the room? Jeremy, because we're in trouble if Jeremy's not here. You don't want
Yeah,
me
they're arriving at 10 o'clock. So.
Oh, they're coming at 10, so, okay.
Then without objection, we'll defer on the audit report until the auditors arrive. Seeing no objection, thank you. Our general counsel, Chris Gober. Has Chris arrived?
I've not seen him.
Pardon?
I've not seen him.
Okay. Then RNC National Committee woman, Tony Andeshiel. Do you have a report? Excellent.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's good to see you on this Saturday morning. I guess, are we starting to pull up the PowerPoint here? And are we coming? It's just kind of slow. Still loading. It's kind of all of us getting, it needs its coffee or its second cup, right? Is what it needs right now. So, we have 3 areas. I wonder if I can I take this and move around there? Okay, so there we go. We're getting close to having it up. Did everybody have a great convention? Just a couple, it's not even been that long. 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Huh? 2 weeks, wow. Just amazing what's going on. Well, let's go. We'll go here. She's starting there. Okay, great. So if we go to the next slide, if you wouldn't mind, please, Rachel. We're going to hit 3 topics today. We have fundraising, the presidential nominating process, and the electoral college. If we go to the next slide, the fundraising, I wanted to give you an update for the RNC. I know it's a little difficult for you guys to see over there, so I'll be giving you the numbers. In what was raised in the month of February, they have had breaking records every single month. Oh, wait, glasses. Since you guys can't see it, $12.8 million just in the month of February, $157.7 million for the 2017-2018 cycle. What we have cash on hand, which I think is very important to know, is $42.4 million. And the really great thing of all is that we have 0 debt. That is huge. And so I want to take just a second to expand on that, how they're investing in Texas. Because a lot of money does come out of Texas. They like to come to Texas and fundraise, but they also are good about returning that and investing back into Texas. And so right now, what we have 10 staff members that are being funded by the RNC. It is projected to have 6 offices. We're going to have offices down like in CD23, up in the Dallas area, in Harris County. Around the state is what they're looking to do to make sure we get the vote out and that we are getting more Republican votes than we are getting the Democrat vote. We've got to get those votes out, and they're looking to hire 2 more people. That should be happening here in the very near future. So then if we go into, okay, back. There you go. The nominating process. Let's talk about that. So that is a committee I've been reporting on for the last year, well, let's say 6 months or so. And what this committee does is it reviews the rules 14 through 24. We have, at this point, what we're going to do, we do not make any decisions. Our committee will vote on what to recommend to the Rules Committee. Then the Rules Committee will recommend to the full body, and they will end up they will take the vote. That should be happening this May. Now, there are 8 proposals that basically what they're looking at clarifying. They're talking about awarding, like we would get an award if this one would get passed, this one rule. They are going to award states that do have primaries. And there are 16 states that do caucuses. The rest of us would be awarded more delegates to the convention because we have a primary. So that is being discussed. It's only being discussed. I thought that was kind of good news for us in Texas. And then they also talk about being bound to the president, you know, a presidential nominee, and they are looking at clarifying all of that information too. I do want to say that if you look up here, you look at the carve out, I tried. I'm in the minutes trying to have a new way of doing this. Because, I mean, I don't ever think Texas is going to be a carve out, but I tried to come up with a couple different ideas. I lobbied the group, and normally when any recommendation came in, it was like, oh, that was just presented and nobody put their name to it. I said, no, I want my name on this one. I talked to all the 4, well, who are they? Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada. And I talked to them, explained the position, because it's not just Texas that feels this way. It is really a number of states that feel this way. And it didn't go anywhere. But I tried. All I can tell you is I tried. And I asked, I mean, I tried to follow up on this, but I think they're getting information and decisions also out of the White House. So I just giving you a heads up on that. I think President Trump does like these 4 carve-out states. Not sure about Nevada, but anyway, so then let's go on next to the Electoral College. There was a proposal, a resolution submitted, and Candy's going to be talking about that a little bit later on. And Melinda was very kind to submit this resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to be aware of what's going on. I think many of you are, but I went to Washington, D.C. and presented with Visa Martin to the National Federation of Republican Women. 150 women are sitting out in the audience, and we are going over these facts that I want to share with you. And it was amazing to me how they did not know what's going on with the Electoral College. I think we all know there's a movement, and it's been around for a while. I mean, as Sue was very aware, I mean, I think a number of you are. Candy did a presentation, gave me some feedback on this information also. Our founding fathers were very wise, because back then there were 2 cities that ended up would have dominated the election turnout. So that's where it all began. And now we have this movement to change the constitutional to a popular vote. This would be disastrous. Now we say, oh, well, it's never going to happen. If we do not stay on top of this, it will happen. If you go to the next slide, if you look at the next slide, these are the 10 states that have already passed law. And you say to yourself, well, Tony, this is a constitutional amendment. No, it's not. Because each state, I see Dion going, no, it is a constitutional amendment. It's not. Oh, you're agreeing with me. That it is because each state gets to determine how that is the electors. And so because of that, if they can get 270 electoral votes through the states, then it will go to a popular vote. This is a big problem because if you look up there, we already have 10 states that have voted, and that equals 165 electoral votes. And then you have all these others. Now, the first 10, okay, they're all Democrat states. You're right, they are. But then go into the second 8. Some of those up there are Republican states, and they have legislation that is trying to end up to pass these laws. They're going through their legislation right now. It is only, I mean, we're looking at right now 100, I mean, we're very close, 262. If you add up all those states up there and they all passed, 262. They'd only need 8 more electoral votes, right? So I ask you, I'm telling you about this because one, I'd like you to support the resolution that has been submitted, but I also want you to educate. We need to educate the people because they do not know. And this is in a crisis mode. We cannot let this happen. And why not? If you go to the next slide, you can see there, California, if you take California and New York completely out, Trump beats Clinton by 3+ million, it's up there, 3+ million votes. But let's even take it down a step further, and you just take out New York City, and then you take out the county of Los Angeles, you take them out, Trump wins by 463,000 votes. Who dictates who's going to be president if it goes with a national popular vote? And there's millions of dollars being put in to have this change. Millions of dollars supporting this organization. So I say stay engaged. Plank 68 does say they support the Electoral College. I think that maybe we want to look at adding maybe education, and that we want to make sure that we continue to educate the voters of what's going on. And so that, I just want to make you aware of that. And then the last thing are the 2 RNC meetings that are coming up. You have one coming up in May, just right around the corner, less than a month. That is going to be in Florida, as you can see. And I say at that bottom, down at the bottom there, if you want to go, just ask. We can, the chairman, myself, Robin, we can sponsor, give you a sponsor sheet if you want to go. I am asking you to ask me if you want to go, okay? But this is the exciting part. The very last thing that I want to talk about is the summer meeting, and it's right here in Austin. Yes, in Austin. That's so exciting. I'm sorry, Chairman, I know you're not very excited about that. He happens to be planning a trip. They didn't ask permission. Anyway, so we're sorry. But anyway, this is just right here in our backyard. Here's an opportunity for you to come in. You get briefings. You have networking. You get to meet people across the United States. And we have discussions. We're a lot different in many states. We're all different entities. But please, if you want to come to this, we'd love for you to take the time. Let us know, and we can talk about how you can be a part of that meeting in July. So that's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Would it be in order to ask Tony Ann a couple of questions?
It'd be in order to ask me, and then...
Okay, sure. The 2 questions, and they're unrelated, but sure. I'll ask both of them and just wait for the answer. Was there any discussion about binding electoral college delegates? And the second one is this whole carve-out thing. That is just a real anathema to everything we stand for. Why are we allowing Democrat small states to have these carve-outs to begin with? Why don't we just get rid of them entirely? Or if we have to have them, at least have Republican states be the small early states.
Yeah, committee will move it.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree. That's what I told them in a very nice way, but it didn't work. I mean, and we will, you know, as you well know, Bill Crocker also worked on that for a very long time too, and we will continue to work on it. We can't let it go. At least we had a discussion. And I didn't get the evil eye across the way from South Carolina or from New Hampshire. You know, at least I had a discussion because we talked about it before. They knew how we felt. They say that what the deal is that they're a small, you know, it's a small state, so they can go and talk with the people. They can do the advertising, the media, all of that. Well, I said, that's great, but you know, there's a lot of other small states. And I even offered, I said, okay, I suggested, what about if we had two? I think that we were talking that if we had two together, so we'd actually have 8 states. That didn't go over either. So I tried. And yes, binding is huge. That is a number of the rules of the 8. That is what we're talking about. So we are looking at that.
Yeah, that's actually, those rules changes are on binding delegates to the convention. Binding electoral college members, I have not heard discussion of that at the RNC level. And yes, there's a lot of discussion in this whole presidential nomination process, both about order. There are really a couple of different arguments. One is about sequence of the states, and there are some significant vested interests in keeping things the way they are. The other is instead in talking about weighting of bonuses and benefits to states who operate their primary or, you know, operate their selection of the presidential candidate in the way the RNC would prefer that it happen. National Committee man.
All right, thank you very much. I had a question for Tony Ann as well. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, next slide. Is it going to be on just on this one side here? I'm going to stand back here and do my report if y'all don't mind. I have a pointer, and I'm going to use this pointer since I brought it. So you can go on to the next slide. I'm kind of rigid like that. If I bring it, I'm going to use it. So hey, so the congressional race, and it's not working. There it is. Congressional races. So we had 7 congressional elections in 2017. 6 were for U.S. House races, 1 Senate seat. Those 6 seats did not change hands until Pennsylvania 18. And so everybody knows what happened in the district in Pennsylvania 18. And then obviously Republicans lost the Senate seat in Alabama as well, and y'all know that as well. So one thing to keep in mind, we have to have a good Democrat candidate or a weak Republican candidate can lose an election in a Republican area. Keep that in mind. Next slide, please. I'm gonna go through these really quickly, guys. Pennsylvania 18, Connor Lamb was a Democrat. He won by about 600 so votes. It was a very close election. Connor Lamb was a Marine, veteran. He was a young guy, attractive guy. He ran as Trump Jr., literally. I mean, if you look at his platform, I mean, the guy said it was not a national election. This was not about President Trump. He says he's pro-life. He literally ran, he was supporting everything that the president is supporting right now. And that's how they ran in that race, and that's how they won that race. This seat was also held by Tim Murphy, who resigned after a scandal, and so that hurt the Republican candidate as well. Also, the Democrat more than doubled his fundraising proposals. Satellite groups, including the RNC, actually spent about $10 million in this race, and so the RNC was actually very active in this race, and we weren't able to pull it out despite that. This is the only race that actually changed hands that took place other than that Senate seat in Alabama. Next slide. Democrats are energized. They're raising a lot of money. Historically, guys, the odds are against us. We hold the House, the Senate, and the President. Historically, the party in power loses the House in those seats, but we are going to defy history in 2018. There's about 50 seats in the 435 that are up in the House that are seen as competitive. That was back last year. Now, Democrats are targeting 101 seats that Republicans currently hold. They're targeting 101 seats. They need 24 to take control of the House. Districts that Clinton won, that Republicans currently hold, are 23. And the opposite of that, Democrat districts that Trump won, are 12. And so they've got to take 24, and like I say, they're targeting 101. Because of this Pennsylvania 18 seat, guys, they are very, very motivated, and they're very angry. Democrats must defend 25 Senate seats. We should, in a reasonable year, we should be able to pick up seats this year in the Senate because they've got to defend 25 seats and we're only defending 9. And 10 of those are in seats that in states that Trump won by double digits. Next slide. 32 Republican governors. We got to have to defend more gubernatorial seats because there's just more. We have so many governors that are running. I can tell you that Barack Obama and Eric Holder have formed an organization that is trying to unseat governors. They believe that this is the way to relevance for them. During the Obama years, 8 years of Obama being in office, Democrats lost state legislatures all over the country. They just lost everything. They lost state legislatures in traditionally Democrat states. And so they believe that the way to relevance, they're already thinking about redistricting in 2020. And so they believe the way to relevance is to win some of these governor's races. And so they're raising $1 billion. Eric Holder and Obama have an organization. They're raising $1 billion to put in these gubernatorial races to try to have an impact and win some of these seats, with the goal is they're going to veto redistricting maps that Republican legislators write. Next slide. Texas Republicans. We've got a lot of Texas congressmen that are retiring or resigning as well. You see the Republicans here. Lots of House and Senate races. Do you know that Democrats are targeting 10 state House races here in the state of Texas? They're targeting 10 because Hillary Clinton won those House districts. And those are in districts where Republicans are currently holding those seats. One of those seats is in Irving, Matt Rinaldi's seat. Strong conservative guy. Hillary Clinton won his district in Irving. Guys, these seats are all over the state of Texas. We have a lot of work to do. Clinton, in that one seat, Matt Rinaldi's seat, Clinton won by 8 percentage points over President Trump in this last election. That's in Matt Rinaldi's state House seat in his district. Romney won that same one, 12 percentage points over Obama. We've got a lot of work to do. Move ahead. Showed you some pictures here. I got to go to the White House a couple of times, zip through that. I've been really honored to be an advisor to the White House on some healthcare issues and also on to Secretary of Health and Human Services, former Secretary of Health and Human Services when he was there. So there I am right there. Next slide. This was just telling him what he should do about Obamacare. So next slide. Is this in the Oval Office here? That's me right there. I am that black guy, not that black guy. I'm that black guy. Next slide. And then that's me there talking to Secretary of Health and Human Services, the former Secretary of Health and Human Services. We had a kinship as a physician, but he spent some money and had to leave. And so they're looking for someone now, but that's me telling him what he should do about Obamacare. Next slide. That's my lab coat. They want us to wear a lab coat. Next slide. All right, there I am right there listening. Next slide. All right, there I am again talking. Next slide. All right, this is a Christmas reception. This was an honor to be there with the President and the First Lady. Next slide. All right, Republican National Committee. So our activity, this midterm election will be the most expensive midterm election in the history, expensive midterm in the history of the world. I mean, we're going to spend a lot of money. We've already spent a lot. Tony Ann went over a lot of these fundraising numbers. I can tell you that the RNC has a lot of staff, 534 staff now in 27 states. We've got staff here in Texas. I really honor Steve Ministeri. I can remember early on when he came on to the RNC when we were there, man, he would always go there and say how important Texas was, and everybody would be like, Texas is a red state, we're not worried about Texas. You know, look, you better invest in Texas, we need Texas, those 30 electoral votes. Finally, he was able to convince them, and they've really been investing in Texas. You know, they continue to have that same confidence in Chairman Dickey. They're continuing to do that, and so we really appreciate that. You know, if we lose Texas, guys, we'll never win a presidential election again. So, and they realize that, and so fortunately they realize that. Next slide. Intense hatred for this president. I've had an opportunity to do a lot of radio interviews here lately in the Houston area, and I can tell you, despite the media's attack on him, President Trump has a 51% approval rating in a Rasmussen poll. That's pretty impressive. But they hate this president. They hate this president. They're going to make it a national election in these districts that are marginal. and in these districts that Hillary won, we cannot afford to lose 10 state house seats in the state of Texas. They're going to make the national an issue, and they're going to talk about President Trump in those districts. And so we've got to message our success. Next slide. Messaging of successes. I don't know if I can see this. The lower taxes, guys, we got to talk about the tax cuts. We got to talk about lower corporate tax rate. We got to talk about companies moving back in the state of Texas. We've got to talk about 3% growth in our economy. We've got to talk about rollback of regulations, destroying ISIS overseas. There's so many positive things that are taking place. Listen, the omnibus spending bill is the 900-pound gorilla in the room. We know that that is very unpopular, but despite that, we have to tell people that what this president wants to do, what this president has done, has a clear record of success. And I can tell you that I actually took this slide out, but National Review, who is not a fan of President Trump, actually wrote that this has been a conservative success story. National Review wrote that, and trust me, they hate President Trump too. And so even though they're conservative, they don't like this president. They even said that this is a national success story. So guys, we've got to take that message out. Like it or not, these elections are oftentimes nationalized. And so certainly your candidates need to be on the ground making the point of how they can best represent their district, but we need to go out and share this national story because they will try to nationalize this election, especially in those districts that Hillary won. Next slide. RNC activity, so I'm on the Rules Committee, so we will be taking up the recommendations of Tony Ann's committee in the presidential primary review process. We'll be talking about that. Faith Advisory Board is something I'm very excited about. This is the first time that this board has existed on the RNC that Ronna put together. There's 14 of us on the Republican National Committee. Mike Mears is going to be sort of running this organization and managing it. He's on staff. They've done some great things to reach out to evangelicals and conservatives and Jewish groups. They're really reaching out to a lot of faith groups. And so this is something, he had some activity in Awake America, where he spoke to about 500 pastors about registering voters in their churches. American Renewal Project, he took place was there in St. Louis, Missouri, and they're doing faith roundtables all over the country talking to faith people, trying to get, because you know we faith people don't always vote. We do, but a lot of people in our churches are not voting, and so that's just an unfortunate fact. I was elected vice chairman of the RNC Southern Region, and so there's a Southern Republican Leadership Conference that's taking place in October 12th and 13th in New Orleans, Louisiana, and so you all are invited to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're trying to get the governor to come speak to that. There's some serious famous guests that will be attending that as well. Focus on U.S. House races is going to be our national focus this year. And next slide. I think this is it. Unity, unity, unity. Okay, guys. March 6th, after the primary, guys, after the primary, you know, we beat each other down as Republicans. After the primary, we have to unify, okay? May 22nd, after the runoff, we have to make sure that we unify after this runoff. May 23rd, we have to be in unity. We can kill each other at the convention, okay? Kill each other. No, don't kill each other, not literally, figuratively, politically. We can fight at the convention, have a big fight, have a big battle, but on Father's Day, June 17th, we need to go out of there unified, okay? That's gonna be important to our success. This year is gonna be a very serious fight in Texas. It's gonna be a serious fight in Texas. The governor's taking it very seriously. Senator Cruz is taking it very seriously. This is going to be a serious fight in the state of Texas. We have to make sure that we're working our districts and that we go after these fights that we have. Look, I like a good fight. I think it's a good thing. I think it makes us healthy. But we have to go out of these conventions and of these primaries and runoffs unified. And so that's going to be the message going forward. So thank you very much. Concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I have been informed that the auditors have arrived, so Roller, if you would come back up.
Okay. First off, I'd like to thank Marion Stanko and Linda Kinney, who we served together on the audit committees, and thank them for their work, and they're here. I'd also, especially our committee, like to thank Jennifer Stoner and John Alvey for the work they've done getting the material together for the auditors, because that's a huge job that they do. And so I'd like to introduce our auditors. They're coming forward. Jeremy Myers is a senior audit manager for Ashley & Associates, and his associate Ronnie Armstrong will present our audit. So welcome them.
Good morning. My name is Ronnie Armstrong. I was the partner in charge. A little closer. Again, I'm Ronnie Armstrong. I was the partner in charge on the audit for the RPT. Our firm, we are a local firm here in Austin, but we've certainly been privileged to be able to work with various different organizations. We actually, in addition to the audit for the RPT, we actually also do the audit for the RNC, the NRCC, and the NRSC. So we do spend some time, especially Jeremy spends some time in the DC area during this part of the year. So we certainly do appreciate that. Jeremy is going to talk a little bit about the audit. Before he does, before I turn the mic over to him, one thing I would like for the committee members just to be aware of is that your audit is a little bit different from other audits, not only other nonprofits, but definitely from a for-profit business. And the reason being is because your accounting records consist of multiple funds. In essence, these are multiple entities. So when Jeremy's working on the audit, in essence, he's not working on just one organization, but he's working on multiple organizations. That complicates the audit, makes it a little bit more involved. Not only does it complicate our audit, but it complicates the type of bookkeeping and record keeping that y'all have to that you have to maintain. Each of these various funds have different requirements that they have to meet. That's a lot of effort that goes into that. So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jeremy to talk about the audit.
Well, I appreciate that. So for the audit this year, much like years in the past, we've had a very clean audit. Ms. Stoner and John Albee keep great books, records. They provided us everything we asked for. We issued a clean opinion. We call that an unmodified opinion. So the financial statements are in really good shape. The one thing I want to point out, if you have the copies of the audit in front of you, is that 17, an off year, right after a presidential election, you're going to see a little bit of a downtake, both in revenue and expenses. But with 18 being an election year here in the state, you'll see an increase in cash and an increase in liabilities due to the primary fees that the party collects for the state primaries. So that's really the big change in 17. Any questions or anything about the audit or anything at all for us? Okay, well, thank you all very much. We appreciate the opportunity to serve the party. And again, just definitely want to, thank Ms. Stoner and John out there for keeping the books and records in the great shape that they do.
Thank you all very much, and I cannot echo enough that sentiment. It is keeping the books and records and the filings of a political party like ours with the complex operation of ours is a massive undertaking, and Jennifer Stoner and John Alvey are amazing at their work. Thank you. And next, General Counsel Chris Gobert.
Mr. Chairman, while
Yes.
he's coming up, copies of the minutes were printed and distributed. If anybody didn't get a copy, raise your hand. We'll distribute those. I apologize. That was my mistake. Apparently, I had the copier set to go one-sided to two-sided, and it should have been two-sided to two-sided. I completely own that, and my apologies.
It's all right. Thank you.
Chris. Good morning, everyone. So quick update, I guess just
Currently, I can report that the Republican Party of Texas, there is no ongoing litigation, enforcement actions, anything like that, so kind of a continuation from my last report. One of the questions that I am getting is with the resignation of Blake Farenthold and what will happen with respect to that. Just as kind of by default in the Texas election statute, it calls for a special election to be held at the next uniform election date. Obvious, that is after 36 days. With the runoff coming up so soon, which is within that 36-day period, that cannot be counted as that uniform election date, so it would be kicked to November. And in that election, all candidates would run. It wouldn't be by party ballot. It would literally everybody on both sides of the aisle would appear on the same ballot.
It's a jungle election.
Yes,
wow.
It is a jungle. And if nobody gets 50%, then it goes to an additional runoff from there. But keep in mind, that would only be to fill the term for the 30 or 60 days until the winner of the currently scheduled general election of what comes out of the runoff and then the general election would then take office for the full term. With that said, the governor does have the ability to call emergency elections, but there's a lot of considerations with that. He wouldn't be able to do it with an emergency election on this runoff without having to get waivers from the Justice Department and impacting military ballots. That would cause a lot of problems. You could also call an emergency election, sometime in between, but you're also looking at potentially now 2 more elections and the costs of doing that. So overall, just a lot of considerations here. We're in contact with the governor's office and kind of working through those. So it kind of remains to be seen exactly which route will be taken, but there's kind of a lot of factors at play at this point. Any questions?
JT Edwards, SD11, and I apologize for not going to the microphone. Can we just leave the seat?
In practical terms, that would be the best thing. But at this point, just by looking at the statute, I don't think that there is necessarily a way to avoid it. That's what I started kind of looking into last night. Is there an argument that you can just effectively bypass that statutory requirement? Haven't found it yet.
Thank you very much. As he said, for two reports now, we've been able to say that we are not currently in the middle of any litigation. That does not mean that our lawyers have not been very active defending us on a lot of fronts and helping us on a lot of fronts, as that one yesterday. So thank you to General Counsel Chris Gober, Assistant General Counsels. We absolutely need their help. And now to Amy Clark. Can you give your report?
Good morning. It's cold. I am excited to be here today for a lot of reasons. I want to apologize for not being here yesterday. My son was not feeling well, and I had to wear the mama hat, but I think this may be the first time I've come to the microphone and not exactly positive what I wanted to tell you guys, because this is going to be my last time coming to this microphone as your vice chairman. And there's so many things I thought about before today that I wanted to share, but I know I'll keep it brief. So I first stood in front of this body in 2008 as the chairman of the party organization committee. And I was, at the time, the youngest SREC member who had ever been elected. Somebody came along and bested me out of that, but Tina Benkaiser was the chair at the time, and she took a risk on me and made me the chair of that committee. And I went back and I found some notes of something I said, in that first time that I spoke to the group, and I said, I believe that what we do as SREC, that this role, that this position is not one of privilege, that this position that we have is one of potential. And I repeated that several times as party org chair, and I believe very strongly that that is what we as a body have done and have to do and continue to do as we serve the state of Texas. Many things have changed since 2008. That's kind of the nature of this game, but overall I think things pretty much stay the same. We're conservative, right? That's what we do. We keep things the same, just chugging along. What has surprised me the most, I think, on one aspect, and Dr. Armstrong alluded to this, is how we oftentimes look to one another and see one another as our enemy here in this room. And I know I have been accused on many occasions of being Pollyanna, and once even of being Snow White, which is pretty funny because I can't sing. And I'm not actually a fan of little animals either, but you know, I'm a hunter, you know. Yeah. I eat them. I don't talk to them. But I think that at the end of the day, we all own a piece of what has happened, what is happening, what Dr. Armstrong referred to when we don't come together. That's on all of us, and I know that we've talked about this, and I think that it is important to note that we are actually living in a moment here where the word unity is considered a code word for something nefarious. Think about that for a second. Where unity means you must be on one side or another if you're calling for people to come together. And in a body such as ours of hardworking and independent and God love it, free-minded people, amen. Can I get an amen to that? Amen. Unity does not mean agreeing with one another. We are capitalists. For God's sake, we love competition. As Dr. Armstrong said, it makes everything better. So I want to look at it in a different word. If the word unify, if the word unity bothers you, how about we just look at mutual respect? Can we agree to that? To look at one another, even when you don't agree, especially when you don't agree, and try to find a way to love them, if not maybe like them, if not even that, maybe just shake their hands and be kind, to see the spark of the divine in each other. If I can leave you with one last message, that's what I want to call us to. If I stood up here and said unity, I know I would be accused of taking sides, and that's not my intent. I want to stand up here and call us to a place of mutual respect. The thing I've been surprised about in a positive way has been how this body over the years has worked together, has come together through disasters like Harvey and Hillary, for that matter, but how we have been able to stand together in the trenches. And I have seen people who would not work with one another on anything else come together to help their neighbors in the wake of Hurricane Harvey. And to me, that has been one of the most amazing things there is, because at the end of the day, if we are not servant leaders, we're not leaders at all. That is what we're called to do. When we stand together and when we roll up our sleeves and we put feet to our principles, that's how we make a difference. You are going to hear from the field staff, you heard from Tony Ann and from Robin what the RNC is doing, but there is something each and every one of you can do that they can't, and that is change hearts and minds on a one-on-one basis. That's the most important outreach of all. We do that by walking the walk, right? We can't just say, keep Texas red. Put feet to the principles. Let's be his hands and feet that we are called to be. And I want to encourage you to join us in RPT Serves Week. You know, this has been a passion of mine for a long time, but I think the most wonderful outreach, the strongest outreach, is that we do in community service. And Republicans do it all over the state, but we have to own that narrative. We have to let people know what we do. Guys, if we believe in limited government, we have to show people what personal responsibility is, right? There has to be that gap, and we stand in that gap. RPT Serves Week is April 16th through the 21st. If you go to our website, texasgop.org/RPTserves. You'll find a sign up. Please share it on social media. We have a number of projects all over the state. We have people going to veterans homes in Tyler, in McAllen, in El Paso. We have people cleaning up the beaches in Corpus. We have food banks. We have crisis pregnancy centers. It's very, very exciting what people are coming together to do. So please join with us in that effort. Hashtag RPTserves, and help people tell our story. So I'm going to leave you with this. And I know I've read you this quote before, but if you'll give me one more chance to say it. I think this sums up the most of what we do here on SREC. Again, it is a position of potential, not one of privilege. If we're here for the title, we're here for the wrong reasons. If you're here for the paycheck, you really made a mistake. Right. But that's not why we're here. Joseph Warren, I'm a homeschool mom, so you know that means I'm a history nerd. Joseph Warren is one of the best examples of servant leadership that we have. He was promoted to a high rank, but yet chose to serve in the trenches on the front line with his men. He could have saved his life, but he didn't. He died right along beside them in the Battle of Bunker Hill, never seeing this country that he dreamed of, this liberty, this revolution come to fruition. But one of the things that Dr. Warren wrote, I think, applies to us as much today as it did back then. And I want you to listen to this for me, please. Our country is in danger, but not to be despaired of. Our enemies are numerous and powerful, but we have many friends determining to be free, and heaven and earth will aid in the resolution. On you, on you, on you, on me, on you depend the fortunes of America. You are to decide the important question on which rests the happiness and liberty of millions yet unborn. And the final thing that he wrote in this quote was, act worthy of yourselves. And that's what I want to leave you with today. Act worthy of yourselves, act worthy of our principles and of this party. We are given this responsibility. We are called to this place to make a difference. Let's lead by example. If you don't like it, be the change, right? You're the first one to do it. So with that, I want to say thank you for the privilege of being your vice chair for the last 4 years. And I would be remiss my daughter walked in the kitchen and she said, I can't believe you're doing that. I said, one last time. So I would like to, Steve Atwell, put this in the auction table over there. One last pan of brownies to do our part for the CRC. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
What a privilege and honor it's been to work closely with Vice Chair Clark. Thank you. Yes, sir. Aw. Tanya?
Tanya Robertson, SD11. May I ask a question of Vice Chair? Amy Clark. Would you mind coming and accepting something from us? From the body? It won't blow up, I promise.
Tanya, we didn't have your breath.
I tried, y'all. Hey, we can still add. Okay, so we tried to surprise you, and I think we might have done it. So I don't have anything prepared, but we wanted you to be able to hear our words and praises to you and thankfulness to you of how inspirational you have been, and with your leadership and your heart. So we're presenting you with this box full of notes. I've got some more to put in there, and we can still add, y'all. And the box says, "Be the change you want to see in the world." So anytime that you're missing us, just open the box and read our notes.
Okay, now it's time for my report, and on a completely different note, I decided to focus it around numbers. And as some have mentioned, we have a lot of numbers, and they sometimes get jumbled up. So I'm going to do my best to make sure to provide some clarity this morning. 1,543,725. 1,543,725 is the number of Republicans who voted in our fair, efficient, transparent, well-managed, and record-breaking gubernatorial year Texas Republican primary. $1.1 million. That's how much unrestricted cash, to refer back to the classifications Mr. McCloskey asked about, $1.1 million is the amount of unrestricted cash raised by the party in the last 10 months. Yeah. $548,484.13. That is the amount of unrestricted cash on hand showing in your report from this morning. That is $160,000 higher than it was just 60 days ago. That is 12% higher than it was at the same time 2 years ago. The party is on the right trajectory in voters and in funds. In this last month, in March, Grassroots Club alone brought in over $35,000 in new donations. By the way, if you'll remember, which you probably won't because you have a life, our budgeted amount for Grassroots Club each month is $10,000. Okay? Triple the budgeted month. 23,857. That's the number of doors that our amazing field staff knocked on to talk about tax reform alone over a couple of months at the end of last year. You'll be hearing from them personally in a few minutes. I'm not going to spoil the rest of it. But we have one of the best field teams in the entire country, bar none. And our relationship and work with the governor and the other candidates that we're able to work with to keep, not just keep Texas red, but to make sure that we continue the kind of victories in Texas that we must have, has been amazing. And it's been the result of a lot of excellent hard work. 8,998. That's the number of delegates we have to our convention this summer. That is more than triple the number of delegates to the Republican National Committee convention. It is the largest convention in the United States, largest political convention. And it's a direct result of all of the great effort we have put into making sure that potential delegates are well trained and well recruited. And along those lines, you can expect to see more of the amazing, helpful videos training our delegates to make sure they put in the most and get out the most out of this convention. And those will, of course, continue to feature our amazing Rachel Malone. $3,862. That is the number of Republican candidates we had on the Texas ballot in the 2018 primary. That is a record and more than double the number the Democrats put on the ballot. We're doing a good job with what we have in front of us. But Committeeman Armstrong is absolutely correct. Our opponents, which is a reminder, are the Democrats. Our opponents are fired up. They hate that they did not win the presidency. They hate that we are in charge. And that hate is a fairly powerful motivator. So the most important thing we can do is make sure that our voters are not apathetic. And that's why the work of the field team is so amazing and so important. That's why we must stay and continue to be well funded. And that's why we must continue to support and work as a unit to make sure that we get the turnout we must have in November. The turnout on our side in November is what will decide how we do. 43. That's the number of donations we've received from donors in the past 10 months of 5,000 or more. That beats the total for the entire presidential year of 2016. We have been sending a clear message, taking a clear stand, making a real difference on the ground with candidates in the legislature, and the donors appreciate it, and they are stepping forward in a real way, as we knew they would. The process is simple. We have shared beliefs. We unify on those shared beliefs. We work together on those shared beliefs. We win races because of those shared beliefs. We implement policies that represent those shared beliefs, and that wins the support of donors and voters, allowing us to continue the process and continue our victory. And we're seeing it in the results. 14. That's the number of total paid RPT staffers. We live out our conservative principles on a day-to-day basis. It is amazing how much we get done and how responsible we are with the donations that we raise. We can only do it, and we can only do what we do with so little because we have the secret weapon of all of you, all of our delegates, all of our voters, and that is a force multiplier that the enemy cannot replicate if we do our job of communicating our message well. 1, the most important number on the list, you. Turning out here, turning out in your neighborhood, turning out at your local EC meeting, turning out your friends and neighbors to vote in November, making your donations to your candidates, doing your block walking. You're going to be the one to make the difference or not. We are the party of personal responsibility. This election, it's our responsibility. We're up to the challenge. We are up to the charge. We are not lulled into false complacency. But we are also not fooling ourselves and not accepting the enemy's narrative that we are not prepared. Democrat press releases and newspaper headlines touted the Democrats were setting records during the primary. There were people who believed the lies, and there were people who succumbed to the fear. We didn't. We worked up to the ending day, and truth was, we're the ones who set the record. So you, the most important number, the one, don't believe the lies. Don't accept the false narrative that we are not winning, because the results show we are. And make sure that you do everything you can do to help raise money, to help do the field work, to help recruit the voters so that we win in November. Thank you guys. God bless you, and God bless Texas. Okay, so for a little administrative business, I appointed 2 additional temporary county chairs in counties that don't have any precinct chairs or secretary. This was amazing work. The first is in Zavala County. Alice Bustamante was recommended by Terry Dubose, who's been working very hard to recruit county chairs in her district. Alice has already gotten to work. She held the precinct and county conventions in which several delegates were elected from Zavala County to the state convention. And then in Gaines County, Ryan Richards was recommended by Rhonda Lacey as well as by the outgoing chairman. He's been a state convention delegate for the past 3 cycles, was an alternate at the national convention in Cleveland. He's already bringing together a strong leadership team for Gaines County. I ask for a motion to ratify these appointments. Okay, Will Rowe. Okay, we got a motion, second? Second. Excellent, we have a second. All in favor of these appointments, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, thank you very much. CRC Committee Chair Steve Atwell has asked for Mona Bailey to be appointed to fill an optional spot in the Candidate Resource Committee. I could not be more pleased to appoint her. For those of you who don't know, Mona Bailey is literally the one who got me started in the RPT. I was her alternate to the National Convention in 2008. So I frequently tell her it's her fault that I'm in this. Could I have a motion to ratify this amazing appointment? We have a motion from, thank you. Second? We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Excellent, the ayes have it, thank you. Since the January SREC meeting, I have responded to 5 requests for rule clarifications. They're in the Google Drive folder for this meeting. One was determined to not be a clarification since there was no ambiguity. One involved the time and place of the precinct convention. Since precinct conventions happened a month ago, that matter is now moot. One involved SREC term limits. This is also moot because the convention will decide the eligibility of candidates to the SREC. One involved the voting rights of an SREC member who is also a precinct chair. And finally, one clarified that a convention committee could go into executive session, but that all people mentioned in Rule 14 have a right to attend that executive session, have a right to record, but are honor bound to keep that recording confidential. If you have questions about any of those, I will try to answer them and we can bring them up on screen. If you don't have questions or a motion now, feel free to look in the Google Drive, and if you'd like, bring a motion during new business. Any motion or question? Seeing none. At this time, we'll hear from our field team. Christy Wilkinson, the RNC State Director and RPT Political Director, please come up and introduce the team.
Morning. Sorry, I'm a little blind. Hold, please. Oh, perfect. Good morning. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Christy Wilkinson. I am the RNC State Director, Political Director, and then as Victory moves forward, I will be the Victory Director, essentially just making the field team move through their guidance. Obviously not mine. They're much smarter than I am. I wanted to kind of go over what we've accomplished thus far. We have been on the ground for about 9 months, and you want to go to the next slide, please? So we have a team motto here in Texas. It is big work ethics and small egos. We are not allowed to come with only complaints unless there is a solution, and we are not allowed to complain about our processes. We have the most sophisticated and diverse team in the country, happy to say. And a lot of the things that the team probably has heartburn about, crowd scout tracking, radar, all things that were not available to me when I was in their system. We'll see the slideshow, but it's also when I leave, whoever comes into my position afterwards can have this material, know who to connect with, so you, the SREC members, know who your voters are, who new unique prospects are. We are in communities we've never been in before. I'm overwhelmingly proud of the team. So, as a team, again, we have the most diverse staff in the country. We have teams from Dallas to Eagle Pass all across the country. I'm pleased to say, and Ramel can correct me, I'm sure he will, we have 4 teams across